Imagine standing on an island where more than 90% of the native wildlife exists nowhere else on Earth. An island where a tiny chameleon can fit on your fingernail, where trees look like they were planted upside down, and where one of the world's most valuable spices grows in the hands of farmers who often live in poverty. This isn't a fantasy world. This is Madagascar. And the strangest thing about Madagascar isn't what you can see. It's what happened here because this island was separated from the rest of the world for millions of years. Welcome to Madagascar, one of the most isolated, mysterious, and biologically extraordinary places on Earth. But before we explore its secrets, there's one question we need to answer. Why is Madagascar so different from almost everywhere else on the planet? The answer begins with separation. Millions of years ago, Madagascar broke away from the ancient landmass that connected it to other parts of the world. Over enormous stretches of time, its landscapes became isolated. And once nature was left alone, evolution started writing its own rules. That is why Madagascar is famous for something scientists call endemism. Species evolved here that naturally occur nowhere else. Take the lemurs. Madagascar is their natural home. And today, the island is famous for dozens of lemur species, from the tiny mouse lemur to the unmistakable ring-tailed lemur. But lemurs are only the beginning. Madagascar is also home to an extraordinary variety of chameleons. Some are masters of camouflage. Others have strange shapes, unusual colors, and incredible adaptations. And one of the world's smallest known chameleons, Bruchesia nana, is so tiny that it can be difficult to believe you're looking at a complete reptile. But then, you look up, and the animals aren't the strangest thing anymore, because Madagascar has trees that look almost impossible. The baobab. Its enormous trunk can store huge amounts of water, allowing the tree to survive through harsh, dry periods. And when you see a line of giant baobabs standing against the sunset at Madagascar's famous Avenue of the Baobabs, it doesn't look like Africa. It looks like another planet. But there's something even more surprising about these trees. They aren't just beautiful. For generations, local communities have used parts of baobab trees for food, fiber, shelter, and traditional purposes. In other words, Madagascar's strangest-looking plants aren't just part of the landscape, they're part of people's lives. And then there is another plant that sounds like something from a fantasy movie, the dragon's blood tree. When its red resin is released, it can look like the tree itself is bleeding. For centuries, red plant resins from dragon's blood-producing trees have been valued for various traditional uses. But Madagascar's most valuable plant story isn't actually the strangest one. It's vanilla. That familiar flavor in ice cream, cakes, and desserts has a surprisingly complicated journey. Natural vanilla comes from orchids, and producing it is labor-intensive. Vanilla flowers have a very short window for pollination, and in Madagascar, much of the work has traditionally been done by hand. Farmers carefully pollinate the flowers one by one. Then they wait, harvest, cure, dry, and carefully process the beans. That means the vanilla flavor you take for granted can represent months of agricultural work. And here's the contradiction. Madagascar can produce one of the world's most valuable flavor crops, while remaining one of the world's poorer countries. That contrast tells us something important about this island. Natural wealth does not automatically create economic wealth. Madagascar has fertile agricultural regions, fisheries, mineral resources, forests, and extraordinary tourism potential. But poverty, limited infrastructure, environmental pressures, and political and economic challenges have made development difficult. And this is where Madagascar's story stops being just a collection of amazing facts. Because behind every strange animal, every beautiful forest, and every expensive vanilla bean, there are people trying to build a life. Humans reached Madagascar relatively recently compared with the island's geological history. Researchers believe the ancestors of modern Malagasy people arrived through migrations involving both Southeast Asia and East Africa. Over time, different communities, kingdoms, languages, and traditions developed across the island. Later, European powers entered the story. France eventually colonized Madagascar in the late 19th century. The island experienced resistance, political upheaval, and eventually a long struggle toward independence. On June 26, 1960, Madagascar became independent from France. But independence didn't erase the layers of history that had already shaped the island. Today, Malagasy and French are official languages, while many regional languages and cultural traditions continue to exist across the country. And some of those traditions are unlike anything you may have seen before. One of the most famous is Famadihana, traditionally known as the turning of the bones. In certain Malagasy communities, families may periodically exhume the remains of ancestors, wrap them in fresh cloth, celebrate with music and dancing, and then return them to their resting place. To an outsider, it can seem shocking, but within the communities that practice it, the tradition is connected to family, ancestry, remembrance, and respect. And that is the key to understanding Madagascar. You can't understand it simply by counting its animals. You have to understand the people living alongside them, because Madagascar is also facing a serious environmental challenge. Its unique ecosystems have been under pressure from deforestation, habitat loss, agriculture, fires, and other human activities. And when a species disappears from Madagascar, there may be nowhere else on Earth where it exists. That makes conservation here more than an environmental issue. It can literally mean protecting an entire branch of life that exists nowhere else. And if you think Madagascar is only about forests, wait until you see its landscapes. There are tropical rainforests, dry forests, mountain regions, coral reefs, remote beaches, and the spectacular limestone formations of Tsingy de Bemaraha. The Tsingy looks almost unreal, a vast maze of sharp limestone pinnacles rising from the landscape. Some areas are so difficult to cross that bridges, ladders, and ropes become part of the journey. It is one of the places that makes you understand why Madagascar is often described as a world within a world. But perhaps the most fascinating thing about Madagascar is this. It doesn't feel like one country with one identity. It feels like several different worlds sharing the same island. A place where Southeast Asian heritage meets African history, where French influence exists beside Malagasy traditions, where ancient forests exist beside modern cities, where extraordinary natural wealth exists beside deep economic challenges, and where an animal found nowhere else can disappear forever if its habitat disappears. So, is Madagascar simply the world's strange island? No. It's something much bigger. It's a living reminder of what happens when geography, evolution, culture, and history are given millions of years to create something unique. And maybe that's why Madagascar feels so mysterious. Because when you look at its forests, its animals, its baobabs, its people, and its landscapes, you're not just looking at a different part of Africa. You're looking at a chapter of Earth's story that was written almost entirely on its own. This is Madagascar, an island that separated from the world, and in doing so, created a world of its own. If this journey changed the way you see Madagascar, don't just leave with a destination in mind. Remember the bigger lesson. The rarest things on Earth are often the easiest things to lose. And if you want to explore more places where history, nature, and mystery collide, subscribe, because the next journey may take us somewhere even stranger.